Hello and welcome to our 19th session. The final challenge is I want you to add a bar on every animal, and every time you feed food to it, the bar is going to show a green line. So I want you to add a hungry bar. Launch Unity Hub, come into the project window, and we are going to continue with our deer game. If you doesn't have this project file available to you, come into the YouTube channel. If you come into the description, click on more, you have one link here, Patreon link. Click on this Patreon link. In the Patreon page of Junior Programmer series, if you scroll down, you have been provided with a file 19 Hungry Animal Game Hunger Bar Challenge start.zip. Click on this file to download it. It is around 1 GB. Once the file is downloaded, you can just right click on this, come here, choose extract all and extract the files. Now coming into Unity Hub, come to add project from disk. Browse to the folder where you had extracted your files, open it and click on the open button. Right now I click cancel here and click on the deer game to launch our food feeding game. Once the project is open, we were previously working on deer game challenge 2 scene. I will first come into file save as. In my Unity project deer game assets folder, I will come into scene folder and I am going to call this as deer game challenge 3 and I am going to click on the save button. Coming into the hierarchy, for me to place my UI slider, I need one reference animal here. So I will come into my project panel, my prefab, and I select any one of the animal from here and drag it into the scene. So I have my animal here. With moose one selected, I will come into the inspector panel and in transform, I will reset it to 0, 0, 0. I will middle mouse click in the scene view and just pan it up. So I have my player here and my moose is here. I will move it along the Z axis by around 12 units. But the moose is appearing very small. So I will come into the scale and I will enable constraint proportion. And in X, I am going to scale it up by 10 units. Rotate it along the Y axis by 180 degree so that it is facing towards the player. I want to add a slider now. To add any user interface in Unity, we are going to make use of UI element. Come into the hierarchy panel, right click, come to this UI drop down and you have slider here. Click on this slider, and when you add slider, automatically an event system is added and also a canvas is added. Select this root canvas here, press F2 and rename this as slider canvas. Now with slider canvas selected, come into the inspector and here in the canvas render mode, click here and select world space. With world space selected, now this RectTransform, all the units are enabled. I will just double click on slider canvas and you can see it is too big as of now. I am going to first come into this RectTransform here on the 3 dots on the right hand side, click here and reset it. Position along X 0, along Y I will set it 0.5 and along Z I will keep it 0. I am going to set its width to 160, height I will set it to around 50. As you can see right now, this is very huge. So I will come into the scale, enable this constraint proportion and I am going to scale this down to around 0.003. If I double click it, now you can see, and I will rotate it along the X axis by minus 90 degree so that it is now in the same plane as my ground. I will select the slider inside this slider canvas and I will come to RectTransform and I will reset its position to 0, 0, 0 so that this slider is inside my canvas area. You have the alignment on the left hand side. With Alt pressed, if I click here, on the last row, you have one stretch. I will select this middle stretch option so that my slider is completely stretched in the full area. Come into this slider and select the background. I will come into the color, click here and I am going to select black color here and I am going to close this. Inside this, you have another fill area. I will come to fill area and inside fill, I am now going to come here in color, click and I am going to select a green color like this. I will come back here to the fill area and the right is set to 15 here. I am going to set it to 5. I doesn't want this handle slide area. I will select it and I will delete it. And now coming back to the slider now, and if you scroll down, you have one value here. If I drag it, you can see how my actual slider is moving 0 to 1. I can just test it. So if I keep it to 1, it will be fully green. I will enable the option whole numbers here. I will close this fill area and also this slider, and you have this slider canvas. I will collapse it. I will convert this entire slider canvas into a prefab. So from the hierarchy panel, I will drag this slider canvas, and in the project panel, I will bring it inside my prefab folder and drop it. Coming back here into the hierarchy, select animal, and if I press F, so I have my animal here. So I will select my slider canvas, and along the Z here in the rectangle transform, I am going to move it by around 12 units so that it comes near my moose one animal. I will right click on the gizmo and I will come into the right view, and I am going to drag it and place it to the top so that in my game view I can see the slider here. I am going to go to file, save it, and next we have to create a new script for this slider to operate. I am now going to come into my project panel scripts folder. I will open it, and selecting this script, I will right click, come into create, and I am going to create a new mono behavior script, and I am going to call this as AnimalHunger and press enter. Allow the script to get compiled, and also see that the public class name here and the file name here are the same. Double click to open it in Visual Studio Code. We have to now add some more components here to use the UI. At the top, in the first line, so I will come into the beginning, I will press enter, and in the first line I am going to now add using system.collections, end it with semicolon. I am going to also add the next line using system.collection.generic. Press enter, and after using Unity Engine, I will press enter, and I am going to use another library called use Unity Engine, and I will call this UI component, end it with semicolon. Coming into my mono behavior AnimalHunger class, after this open flower bracket, I will press enter. So I will add 2 forward slashes, variable to hold my slider reference. I will press enter, public. The type of this variable is it's a slider, and I am going to call this as hunger slider and end it with semicolon. I am going to again add a comment with 2 forward slashes, variable to hold my hunger full value. Press enter, and I am going to call public. I am going to actually make it an integer, and I am going to call this as amount to be fed. I am going to end it with semicolon. This is the slider variable, and amount to be fed is going to determine what is the maximum amount of food required for the slider to become full. I will make this T capital and B capital so that I am using the camel casing. I will press enter, and I will add another comment here, variable to hold my current hunger value, public integer, and I am going to call this as current fed amount, and I will end it with semicolon. I also want to use a game manager here, variable for the game manager. Press enter, and private. The type of variable is game manager, and I am going to name this as game manager. The difference is in the second I am using a small letter G, and I will end it with semicolon. As soon as my game starts, in the start I am going to select my slider, hunger slider, and in hunger slider I have a method period, and I will call for the parameter max value, and I am going to set this equal to amount to be fed. I will press enter. I will again call this hunger slider, and in that you have another parameter value, and I am going to set this to current fed amount, and I will end it with semicolon. And then I will press enter, and I am going to now set my game manager equal to game object, and in find add open close bracket, in inverted comma because this is a string. I am going to ask it to search for the GameManager game object, which will be in my C. Come out of this close bracket, press period, call get component, and in left arrow, right arrow, inside this arrow, the component that I need is the script GameManager, and I will come out of the right arrow. I will add open close bracket and end it with semicolon. So this is similar to the GameManager assignment which we did it in the previous session when we actually created scores and lives. Now we are going to declare another method called as FeedAnimal. After this void update, after this closing flower bracket, I will press enter. This is a public method. It is not going to return any value, so I will call it void, and I am going to call this as FeedAnimal in open close bracket. So inside this bracket, the type of this parameter is an integer, and I am going to call this as amount. Then I will come out of the close bracket here, press enter, add open close flower bracket, and inside this open close flower bracket, whatever is the current feed amount, this is the variable we have declared. For this, plus is equal to, I am going to add whatever amount has been added to this method. We are going to next set hunger slider. I am going to call fill rectangle. I am going to call game object, and this game object period I will set active, and I am going to set it to true. The hunger slider which is inside the slider will become active and will be visible. I am going to come to the next line, and I am going to set my hunger slider value. It will be equal to current fed amount, and I will end it with semicolon. We have to then test a condition. So I will come to next line. I will add 2-line gap, and then I will call for this if statement. I will add open close bracket, and the condition we are going to now test is current fed amount. If it is greater or equal to amount to be fed, then I will come out of the bracket, then press enter, add open close flower bracket, and inside this I am going to come to GameManager, and I am going to call this add score, and in open close bracket I am going to end it with semicolon, and inside this I am going to add the value amount to be fed. So this amount to be fed value will be added to my score now. I want to destroy this game object, but this game object I doesn't want it to destroy immediately. I want it to destroy after about 0.1 second. So I will add a comma, and I will give time 0.1f. After 0.1 second, the object to which this feed animal is attached, that will get destroyed. I will also add comments here. On the top here, I will add 2 forward slashes, increase the current fed amount by amount passed in the parameter. Above the if, I will add 2 forward slashes, check if the current fed amount is greater than or equal to the amount to be fed. So for the second line, I have not added semicolon, so I will add semicolon. We have completed our FeedAnimal method. So I will come to file, and I am now going to save this. Our FeedAnimal method is ready, but where are we going to call it? If I come into Unity, the place where we can call this is, we have added this DetectCollision script to all our animals. If I double click this DetectCollision, I will come into on trigger enter. We had added GameManager add score 5. So this adding of score is not going to happen inside my DetectCollision now. This is now going to happen in the FeedAnimal method. I am now going to call this other collider. The other collider is the food or the pizza projectile. So I will call this other game object. I am going to get component in left and right arrows. Inside this, we are now going to call our script AnimalHunger. I will open close, I will add the brackets period, and in this AnimalHunger script, I am now going to call this feed animal method. In open close bracket, I will end it with semicolon, and the parameter I am going to give here is 1. Now, if we come back to AnimalHunger.cs file, you can see here in our FeedAnimal, we have added this destroy game object after 0.1f. We have added it here. So I can come into DetectCollision, and here these two destroy game object, I can select it and delete it. I will go to file and I am going to save this. I will come back to Unity. I am first going to come into the hierarchy, and we had added this slider canvas directly to our scene. So I am now going to select this and I am going to delete it. I will select this moose 1 also and I will delete it. I am now going to come into my project. In my prefabs, first I am going to come into my pizza one, that is the food. I am going to click open here to edit my prefab, and in this, if I scroll down, I have box collider and rigid body, and for this pizza one I will come into add component and I am going to add this detect collision. So detect collision, I am adding it to my projectile. I will click on this arrow mark and come back. Come into our prefabs, the 3 animals. First I will select the do1 animal, and in the inspector I will click on open. See, in the hierarchy I select now this do1, and in the list we had set the move forward speed to 10. I am going to set this speed from 10, I will reduce it 2, and if you scroll down, we had added this detect collision script. I will come on the right hand side and click on these 3 dots, and I am going to remove this component. I am going to come into my project window and I will drag my slider canvas into my do1 prefab, and once I have added it, I will come into this gizmo, right click and come into the right view, and I am going to drag it to the top and also to the right to place it on the top of my animal. I will right click and come once to the top view to see whether it is correctly aligned. I have placed it correctly. Now once I have placed the slider canvas correctly, in the hierarchy I will select my do1 again and come into the inspector, and here we had added move forward script and we had removed detect collision. Now I will come to add component and I will now add this AnimalHunger script. Amount to be fed, I will set it to 2, and I will open slider canvas and I am going to drag this slider and attach it in this hunger slider socket. I have edited one animal successfully. I will click on this arrow mark to come back. Then I will select fox 1 animal, and then I will come into the inspector and I am going to click on open. Selecting fox 1, first I am going to set its speed 3, and scrolling down I have detect collision script. I will come to the right hand end and I am going to remove this component. I will drag my slider canvas into this hierarchy of this prefab fox 1, and again coming into the scene view, I will right click here on the gizmo, come into the right view, drag it to the top and slightly on the z axis so that it is placed on the back of my animal like this. I will come into the top view, see that it is correctly placed. Now once I have set slide canvas, I have to come back to fox 1 and select it. Move forward script is applied, and now I will come into add component and add AnimalHunger. I will set the amount to be fed for this 3. Open this slide canvas and I am going to drag this slider into this hunger slider slot. I will again click on the arrow here to come back. Now finally for the third animal, moose 1, I am going to select it, click on open. Here again with moose 1 selected, I will set the speed of this to around 4, and I will come back to this detect collision script here. On the right hand side, click and remove this component. Then coming into the project panel, drag the slider canvas into this prefab moose 1. Then I will come into the scene. I will right click on the gizmo and come into the right view, and I will drag this to the top and also to the right to place it on the top of the animal. then I will right click here and come into the top view to see that it is correctly placed. I will come here and select moves 1. See that you have move forward script is present here, and below that come to add component. Click on animal hunger and I will set the animal amount to be fed to 2. Now I will open slider canvas. I will drag this slide and attach it to this hunger slide. Now I will click on the left arrow to come back to my scene, and to make the animal spanning a little less, I will come into the span manager, and here you have this span interval set to 1.5 seconds. I will change it to 4 seconds. Then I will come to file, I will save this, and now if I come here and play the game, you can now see after 2 seconds when the spanning starts. See, now if I fire after 3 times, the score also you can see it at the bottom. So as it is spanning, I can now fire it, and for every 3 fire, see, you can see the slider moving 1, 2. For 2 animals it is 2 strike, and for some it is 3. So now we have implemented all the logic. So with this I will stop the playback, go to file and save this. So with this we have successfully completed all the challenges of this animal feed game, that is this deer game. And in our next session we are going to work on a brand new prototyping of a game. So let us meet in the next session.